Welcome back to 123 Go with Jay. We're back at it again with another episode of Go Rolling with me. And yes, everybody, as you can see, this is a nighttime ride in the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm joined by my boy Alexis. He's actually in the lead on this ride. As I mentioned in previous videos, a lot of times, I'll ask Alexis, like, hey man, when we ride out, how do you want to ride? You trying to have some fun on the back roads or get up to some speeds on the highway, or are you trying to be seen? And this was one of those nights where Alexis said he absolutely wanted to be seen. The weather was nice, so we decided to roll out and head towards uptown Charlotte, North Carolina. So it was a good night. Traffic was pretty light for the most part. We were making our way into the city from the south side of town. So if you're familiar with like South Boulevard, Providence Road, that area, we were coming in from that direction. So yeah, just bear with us as we kind of work out the logistics here. He knows the route, he knows where he wants to go. I pretty much just told him, go wherever you want to go, man, and I'll be the GPS to get us back to where we need to be. So I'm pretty good with doing stuff like that. I don't usually have to pull my phone out. That's something that's fun about being on the Riker. You get a chance to get out there and explore and learn the back roads and learn about all the connecting roads. Sometimes in cities like Charlotte or like in cities like Asheville or Winston-Salem, a lot of times one road will have 3 different names as you drive down the road. So it's always good to pay attention to street signs. I've never been big on landmarks. I like to look at street signs, street names, numbers, route numbers, that sort of thing, and be familiar with where things intersect. But what's nice about it, as I was saying, is you get a chance to kind of learn your way around just a little bit. And as an adult, somebody who's living in the city with lots of congestion, lots of traffic, it's nice to know alternate routes based on wherever you're located. So that's why I like being on the Riker sometimes. And sometimes these evening rides, these nighttime rides are really good for that. You get a chance to kind of see what roads connect and where they take you, what parts of town they put you into, and that sort of thing. And you'd be surprised. There's been times where I've been in car rides and headed somewhere and somebody says, oh, let me pull out GPS, and I'm like, no, we're gonna make a left on this road right here, make a right on this one, ride it for 5 miles, and we'll be at our destination. And they're just completely surprised that you know that. So yeah, get out there and explore. Pay attention to your surroundings. Always be safe, be sharp, but read those street signs. So as you can see now, we're definitely getting closer into the south side of Charlotte, uptown. We're actually on, I believe this is South Tryon now. So we're making our way towards the high rises and the skyscrapers. And that's where you're also gonna have all of the pedestrian foot traffic as well. So we're getting there, folks. A lot of people out and about. Actually, I stand corrected. I think we're on South Boulevard right now. This is a nice night. A lot of people are out. Something that's I've noticed in all my time being on the Riker around Charlotte and especially uptown at night, a lot of people come out with a lot of expensive and eye-catchy toys. So you'll see a lot of muscle cars out. You'll see a lot of bikes. You may see some other 3-wheel vehicles that are out there, motorcycles, you name it, they're gonna be out and about. It's just an area where people just want to come and be seen. There's a lot of restaurants and a lot of entertainment venues in uptown Charlotte if you're not familiar with the area. So it's just a central meeting point for a lot of people who have similar interests in lifestyle. See some convertibles with the roofs down. So this was actually a rather warm night, but as you notice, every time we ride, we pretty much have on riding jackets. A lot of that, a lot of people think that the jacket is to keep you warm, but actually it can help with deflecting objects like bugs and rocks and things like that, because that stuff hurts when it hits you when you're doing 55, 60 miles an hour on one of these things. So a lot of times, I'll still always have a jacket on. And there's only been maybe once or twice where I actually rode without a jacket. And I mean, it was like a really short ride. Like I was riding just out of my neighborhood to the grocery store and back, something like that. Light day, wasn't much traffic out. Still got to be safe though. So I always ride with the jacket as much as I possibly can. Alexis he moves the same way I move as far as that's concerned. So yeah, so because of the temperatures, you know, it does get a little warm on the Ryker, so it's always helpful to be moving to let some of that cool air hit you. There go a couple of bikes, literally a motorcycle and a bicycle just went by. And now we're definitely on Tryon. I can tell from pretty much the single lane of traffic being able to flow through and parking on the street. This is one of the few streets uptown in Charlotte where you kind of really can't ride two lanes at certain points. It'll spread out a little bit, but for a good stretch of this, you're kind of going along one lane. I think all in all, Alexis and I were out riding for about maybe 2 hours this evening because we rode a little bit before we came in towards uptown. And then once we got to uptown, we kind of looped around for about maybe like an hour or so. At some point we stopped, took a break. No point in showing you all of that. So we're just gonna keep the video moving. Again, this is that AMSR for those folks who are sick and shut in, who can't get on their Rikers or even their two-wheel bikes. And this is an opportunity for you to be out there, hear the sounds of the engine, hear that wind blowing, which actually you can hear quite a bit in the microphone on this 360 cam I'm using. But it just gives you a chance to be out there and be a part of the life, even though you might have something in your real life that's preventing you from doing that. If you're not doing well, we hope that you improve, that you do better. Maybe we'll see you out there one day when we're out there on the bikes riding. But until then, just enjoy. So another thing about the Ryker, the stop and go traffic. So that's something to think about. If you're gonna be riding in a populated area, congested area with a lot of pedestrians, a lot of cars, a lot of stops, a lot of go, you might want to think about how you prepare for that type of ride. You're not going to be going that fast. It's always good to know kind of the area that you're going to be riding in so you can identify like your cross streets and places where you can stop and take a break if you need to. So that's something that I'm really good about doing. You can also notice this has been a topic of discussion for a lot of people. Actually, we just resumed from a break right here. So we did take a small break. At some point, we're over by Bank of America Stadium right now. It's kind of behind us, or actually to the front, to the left, where the Carolina Panthers play. And we're going past the PNC baseball field right now. I think it's PNC, I forget the name of that field. But yeah, we're over there by the minor league baseball team field. So, as I was saying, one of the things that you'll notice, the fan sound, from the cooling system. So the Ryker will do that, especially when you are in areas where circulation is kind of low. There's not a lot of crosswind, not a lot of wind going up into the air intake and into the radiator to kind of help cool things off. It's nothing to be alarmed about, but it is loud. It is somewhat obnoxious, and you can actually hear it in your helmet. Even if you're wearing earplugs or playing music, you'll definitely hear that sound. I know a lot of people have had questions about that in some of the discussion groups that I'm in and some of the Facebook pages that I'm in. It is perfectly normal to hear that fan sound kick in, and actually I've had it continue to run even after I've turned the bike off. But that is by design, because ultimately just because you turn the bike off doesn't mean that it suddenly starts to cool down. So that is a mechanism that activates in order to help keep the bike and the engine cool and the coolant running through safely so that your engine doesn't get damaged. Even when it's not running, it'll eventually turn itself off. I think the longest mine is run when I came to a rest and turned everything off, maybe like another minute or so. Something else too, I like to point out, you see several lane changes. I think it's also important when you're riding in congested areas, you still got to be safe. You need to check your blind spots, check your mirrors, look twice. Always assume that something's going to change immediately before you get a chance to make the move you're going to make. So be on guard, especially in a region like this where it's a lot of people, it's a lot of activity. God forbid there's people out there that are intoxicated or under the influence or just simply distracted. So you really do need to be more vigilant if you're going to ride into an environment like this. It's not for everybody. So I would definitely encourage you, if you get a bike or any type of motorcycle, three-wheel, whatever, practice in different areas first. If you live in a big city and there's a small suburb with maybe like a small town that's in it, or a area where it's a little more populated, go there, ride around a little bit, kind of get comfortable before you go to like city center where you're like in, 30 blocks of traffic and congestion and everything else. I definitely would say practice, or plan to take a ride at a time where there's not as much activity. So maybe like an early morning ride, like a Saturday or a Sunday morning ride into that same area. So that way you can just kind of get familiar with the layout of the roads, some of the things that you have to pay attention to, like construction, potholes, speed bumps, things like that. So that way when you come back and ride and it's more congested, you have a little bit more confidence because you know the environment. That goes a long way. It's fascinating to me how much of riding a Riker is mental more than it is physical. So I think it's really important to be confident, but not overconfident. Take each ride and treat it as a learning lesson. There's always something to take from each and every ride that you're on. And because you see that we videotape our rides or record our rides, it's always nice to go back sometimes and look at some of the things that we experienced and talk about it. It's kind of like you're on a professional sports team and you're reviewing the film of the game before. Gives you a chance to kind of identify things that you can prepare for better or things that you did well that you want to continue doing. And that's actually kind of the story of how Alexis and I started riding together. He was new to it, so was I, but I had a lot more seat time than he did, and he just wanted to just learn and observe how I rode and pick up on some of those techniques and strategies, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where it started, and we've just kind of gone from there. So if you're out there and you can find somebody to ride with, definitely do it. I think it's a good thing to do. It helps break up the monotony of riding by yourself sometimes, even though riding by yourself is definitely exciting. I've done it plenty of times. It's always good to have a partner with you sometimes, just for the camaraderie. Sometimes just for the aesthetic, like just being seen and two guys riding around on nice looking bikes and everybody looks at you and they want to speak to you and everything else. It's just really cool. You might encounter other people out there riding, so that's always fun to connect with other riders. So definitely if you're in an area where you can find somebody, meet up and maybe you can't ride with everybody. Some people are very high risk takers. Some people are super duper conservative and they're scared to actually drive the speed limit on their bike. So find individuals that you can relate with, that you share similar beliefs, and then connect up and get out there and have a good time. So now we've pretty much had a good time. We're about to head home, and for us, from this area to where the area that we live in, because Alexis lives probably about 6 miles away from me, house to house. But from this area of uptown, it's gonna take us every bit of maybe 25 miles to get back to the crib. So we're out on the outskirts of uptown, and we're on the kind of like an outer loop. If you're from a large city, kind of like a beltway type setup. So there's a series of highway that goes around uptown Charlotte. So we're headed out now. We're about to go down Highway 74/Independence if you're from the area. And we get up to some decent speeds. It's still early in the night, so we're actually not in a lot of traffic right now because everybody's heading inbound, as you can see from all the headlights in the opposite lane versus what you see with us. And we're just headed on back out to the sticks. Nice night. We had a full moon from what I can recall. You can look up in the upper corner of the screen there and you can definitely see it through the clouds. It was a really nice night. One of the things I like about being on the Riker is that, there's a lot of visibility as far as the headlights are concerned. You got your 2 center headlights and then you got lights on both of your front fenders. So people definitely will see you coming. I know there's been a lot of talk about having a bunch of LEDs and having like a bunch of extra lights to increase visibility. And as I always remind people, I'm not gonna leave my life in the hands of somebody else who needs to see my LEDs in order to know I'm there. It's my job to see them and to be prepared for anything crazy that they might do. And if it just so happens that they spot me before, that's cool. But I'm definitely not going to rely on headlights or high visibility clothing or anything like that to save my life out there. I'm just going to assume everybody's a crazy driver and try to figure out the best way to deal with each driver as I encounter them. As you can see, Alexis is a little heavy on the throttle. He slowed down, sped up. I maintained my speed. I said, not tonight. Different circumstances, maybe I would have entertained him. But at nighttime, on a road like this with some side cross streets, that sort of thing, I'm not interested. And it's a weekend night, so you also have law enforcement that can factor in as well and consider. They're going to be out there looking for opportunities to get easy tickets on people. It's not worth it. Now, if you notice something else, I don't tend to linger in anyone's blind spot. So there was a vehicle to my right, and I realized that vehicle passed me and then started to slow down just a little bit, and I was like, nah, time to go. So that's what's nice about having a 900 Sport, is that you got that power. If you need to separate from a vehicle, you can do it pretty easily. But I definitely don't like riding in blind spots. And sometimes drivers will overtake you, and then they'll start slowing down once they get you like out of their field of vision as far as their blind spots concerned. I'll never understand that, but it's my job to decide if I'm going to slow it down or speed it up. Usually when somebody's driving that inconsistently, I just want to get them out of my way, so I typically will get ahead of them and stay ahead of them. In this case, I think I just let them go. I didn't worry about it because they were inconsistent with their speed. But yeah, it was a nice night, had a good time. I hope you all are enjoying these videos. More to come for sure. Something else I do also like to think about and like to mention from time to time is the concept of driving faster than your headlights. So when I was in the three-wheel safety course, the trainer talked about that, and I didn't understand what that meant. But this is a great opportunity to kind of illustrate that. So if you look at the center of the screen, you can see the bright point where my headlights are kind of focused. Well, if you're in an area where there's little to no light, like on a country back road or residential area, you're not going to see any objects until it enters into that space. And as you can see now, that's a very small space, especially when you consider that only like 1 to 2 lines on the road actually fit in that focused area of light. So if you're driving in an area that's dark, keep that in mind and don't drive faster than your headlights, where by the time an object gets into that focused area, you're overtaking it and there's nothing you can do about it other than to eat the object. Now, because we are in an area with ambient light, street lights, lights from businesses and that sort of thing, it's not that much of a concern to be driving faster than your headlights. But if I was on a back road, like right now, we're probably running about 60, maybe 55 or 60. I think that's the posted speed limit is 55. So we're probably doing about 60, just looking at how we're overtaking some of these cars. I wouldn't do that on a back road, because I need to slow down, because there'd be no additional light other than what my headlights are focused on. So keep that in mind when you're out there on the Riker. If you have not upgraded your headlights to a aftermarket light, if you're using the stock lights, you're going to have some limitation on how far ahead you can see unless you run your bright lights. If you run your bright lights, then you won't have this issue. But if you got them on low, you're absolutely going to have to be concerned about driving faster than your headlights. Another great example of what I mean by that, now that it's dark and we're away from the city, there are no street lights out here, just the other cars. And it is important to be mindful of what's in front of us. It helps that there are brake lights in front of us, as well as the reflectors off of the backs of cars, so you have a good sense of distance. But you're not going to get that if you're completely isolated, like on a back road. And actually, as a result of that thinking, I started doing something different on my rides. I used to just kind of always draw towards the back roads, And that's fun. It's great. Even at night, I was doing some back road stuff like close to where I live. And then I started kind of realizing that, like, as I'm taking these rides, there were certain aspects of it that just I didn't feel comfortable with anymore. And so I said, well, where can I ride where I don't have that factor to be concerned about? And I started riding in areas where there were street lights. So I started going towards the city at night. So probably in my second year of riding the Riker, I started mixing it up. So whenever I'd have like an evening ride, if it was already like close to sundown, I would not ride back roads. I would take it into the city. So that way I have ambient light everywhere. And I think it's just a more enjoyable ride. Plus the streets are clear in the evenings anyway. Evenings and nighttime, you don't have as much congestion. So riding in those areas is a lot more fun because you can actually enjoy the roadways. So keep that in mind. If you live in the city and you want to take evening or night rides, you're concerned about light, head towards the street lights and you'll be fine. Or head towards all the businesses and you'll be good to go. So we're about to wrap this ride up. Hope you all enjoyed this episode of Go Rolling With Me, where we provide AMSR. When you can't be out there on your Riker, we'll go out there and do it for you. Continue to watch 123 Go with Jay for more videos, more content. Make sure you like and subscribe, comment, help us build out this community. Let us know what you're out there doing, how you're enjoying yourself on your Riker. Share your links, whatever you feel like doing, man. I want this to be an open space where we can just collaborate and get to know each other and have a good time. Oh, blue flashing lights. Look at that. Y'all have a good one. Remember to stay safe, stay sharp, and just have fun. Go out there and enjoy yourselves, but be safe at the same time. Y'all be cool.